Hello all, in this particular tutorial we will learn how to perform RMAN backup based database duplication, and we will duplicate database to another server with same DB name and different DB name. Since we will be duplicating the database twice, this particular tutorial will be slightly lengthy. However, based on your choice, if you want to know how to duplicate with the same DB name or how to duplicate with a different DB name, you can only watch that particular section, which will save your time as you don't have to watch the complete tutorial. Now, before we proceed, let's understand how the RMAN backup based duplication works. In backup based duplication, pre-existing RMAN backups of source database are used to create the duplicate database. Combination of full and incremental backups can be used. RMAN determines which backups and archive redo log files to use based on until condition. Backup based duplication can be used in the following scenarios. Connection to source database is not available. Network bandwidth between source host and destination host is a constraint. Oracle recommends that you use active database duplication. Now, let me explain this slide in a little bit more. So there are two ways you can duplicate your database. One is active database duplication, another one is backup based duplication. There are scenarios where you can't use the active database duplication because active database duplication needs the connection to the source database. And if the connection to source database is not available, you cannot use the active database duplication. In the scenarios where you can't use active database duplication, Oracle provides with the another method of duplicating your database, and that is the RMAN backup based duplication. In backup based duplication, pre-existing RMAN backups of source database are used Pre-existing RMAN backups of source database are used to create the duplicate database. When you run the duplicate command, the RMAN determines which full backups, which incremental backups, and which archive redo logs to apply based on the until condition. And this particular method can be used when connection to source database is not available or network bandwidth between source and destination host is a constraint. Before I proceed, let me repeat one more time that a recommended method of duplicating your database as per the Oracle is active database duplication. And in the scenarios where you can't use active database duplication, you can duplicate your database using RMAN backup based duplication. Now, why to use RMAN backup based duplication? If you use a traditional backup and restore method, you have to restore with same DB name. You can change DB name later using NID, but the restore happens with the same DB name. When you use backup based duplication, you can directly restore with different DB name. That is one advantage. And also RMAN duplicate command changes the DB ID automatically. So these are some of the advantages where you will use the backup based duplication rather than the traditional backup and restore, because one, you can restore with a different DB name. You don't have to use the NID utility. Second, it will change the DB ID automatically. Now, let's understand our setup. So on the source server, we got DB1, and on the destination, we got, sorry, there is a source server called DB1 and destination DB2. Oracle database software is installed, which means Oracle Home is present on source DB1 and destination DB2. On the source server, there is database called Aura19D, which we will duplicate on destination server. On the destination server, there is no database present. We will duplicate database with same name. So we will duplicate this particular database with the same name on the destination and also with a different name, Aura22D. So with the same name, it will be Aura19D, and the different name that I have chose is Aura22D, and we will restore that or duplicate that particular database twice on the destination server. Now, this particular tutorial is done on Oracle 19c running on Linux 8. How to install Oracle database software is not covered in this tutorial. What are the steps? So these are the high level steps. On the source server, create P file, take RMAN backup, transfer RMAN backup to destination server, transfer P file to destination server. On the destination server, open database in no mount mode using P file, duplicate database using RMAN. Password file is not required in backup based duplication. Now, before I proceed, let me explain these steps once again. So on the source server, you will be creating the P file and taking the RMAN backup. Once the P file and RMAN backup is taken, you will transfer RMAN backup and P file to destination server. On the destination server, you will start your database in the no mount mode using the p file. Which p file to use? The p file that we transferred from this source server. And then we will duplicate database using RMAN. And when we run this particular command, it uses the backups that we transferred from the source server. Now, let's see the steps in detail. So, the two steps on the source server is create p file and take RMAN backup. So, to create the p file, you will use create p file from sp file. If you already have the p file, you can skip this particular step. If you don't have the p file, you can use create p file from sp file command to create the p file. Once the p file has been created, you will transfer that particular p file to destination server. Now, RMAN backups. You can use your pre-existing RMAN backups if you have those to perform this particular lab. You don't have to perform the fresh RMAN backups. If you don't have the RMAN backups, you can use the below commands or combination of below commands to perform your backups. Now, how we can take the backup? So we can first we'll set the environmental variable. We'll connect to the RMAN target session. We can say backup database plus archive log, which will take the backup of the database along with archive log. If you don't want to full database backup, you can take the incremental level 0 backup. So you can say backup incremental level 0 database plus archive log, or you can take the backup of the database or backup incremental level 0 database followed by archive log all. First two commands will take the backup of the database along with archive log. The last two commands, first it will take the backup of the database, then you can take the archive log backup. Now, let me repeat. If you have the RMAN backups, already you can use those RMAN backups. If you don't have the RMAN backups, you can use these commands or combination of these commands to take the backup. Once the backups have been taken, transfer those backups to destination server. Now, once that is done, you are free to log off from the source server. Next steps we will be performing on the destination server. So on the destination server, this particular tutorial is divided into two parts. One is duplicating the database with the same database name and duplicating the database with a different name. Let's proceed with the part one, where we will know how to duplicate the database with same database name. To duplicate the database with the same name, first we will start our instance in the no mount mode. So startup no mount p file is equal to, and this particular p file we will be getting, this particular p file is the one which we transferred from the source server. Once our instance is started in the no mount mode, you will connect to the auxiliary RMAN auxiliary / duplicate target database to the same name, backup location, the location where we transferred the backups, no file name check, until time, and this particular until time, from where to get this particular until time. This particular until time I will show you when we perform the lab. So this until time is pretty important. This until time actually determines what RMAN, when we duplicate the database, what backups to use, which full backups, which incremental backups, which archived log files to use. This particular until time clause determines that, and that's why this particular until time we need to be careful with this particular time format or time value. Now, this particular method duplicates the database with the same name. Now, the part 2, if you want to duplicate the database with a different name, the database that I have chosen is Aura22D. You can choose whatever, but here I have shown how to do it with Aura22D. So to duplicate with this, there are multiple methods, and I'll show you multiple methods, and this particular method will be used in the lab. So what we can do, since we have already duplicated this particular database on the destination server, so Aura19D will be already running. So we need to make sure that we don't override the redo logs of the existing database. So we will use the log file name convert parameter and a db file name convert parameter. What this particular parameter says that if the log files are present in this directory, they will be redirected to this directory, and if the data files are present in this directory, they will be redirected to this particular directory. This particular two parameters instructs RMAN, when we run the duplicate command, it instructs that the redo logs will go to this directory instead of the original directory, and the data files will go to the new directory instead of the original directory. Now, these particular parameters we need to add before starting the instance in the no mount mode. Now, once we have added this particular parameter, then we will set the environmental variable, and then we will start our instance in the no mount mode using this this particular p file, and then we will run the duplicate command RMAN auxiliary / duplicate target database to new name. So this is the new name, backup location, same location, no file name check. So this particular syntax is exactly same. If you see here, this syntax and this syntax matches, except that here we have chosen a different name, and only before using this particular syntax, what we have done, we have instructed RMAN to redirect the redo logs and data files to different locations. location. Now, there is another method of doing this. What we can also do, if we don't want to use the log file name convert and db file name convert, we can use the set new name clause for the database and set new name for the temp file. So in this, if you look at this particular syntax here, we are not using the log file name convert because we are manually defining the logs when we do the duplicate command. So here the logs have been manually defined, so it will not try to rewrite or create the logs as per this source database. It will create the logs as what we have defined here. And set new name for the database will instruct that the data files go to this location. Set new name for the temp file will instruct that the temp file goes to this location. We can use this particular syntax if we do not use log file name convert and db file name convert. We can use this particular syntax, and this particular syntax will make sure that we don't overwrite the data files or temp file of the original database or the database that we have restored. So there are two ways I have shown you, and I will be using this. You can use any of this method as per your convenience. Now, before we proceed, let me also explain you the concept of DBID. So that is a concept of DBID. DBID is internal unique identifier for a database. RMAN distinguishes databases by DBID. RMAN duplicate database command changes the DBID automatically. You can, if you want to know the value of DBID, you will use select DBID from $. Database. Now, what's the concept of DBID? So let's say you have two databases with the same name. Let's say you have two databases with same name. So the database name is test and test, but the DBID is different. Then RMAN will think that these two databases are different. If let's say you have two databases with the different name, let's say the name test A and test B, but the DBID is same, RMAN will think that these are same databases. So the DBID, if DBID is unique, the databases are unique. So the best part of duplicate command is that the RMAN duplicate command changes the DBID automatically. You don't have to change the DBID manually. And if you want to know the DBID value, you can use select DBID from $. Database. Now that we have seen everything, let's proceed and begin the labs. Before I start with the labs, let me show you that this is the server DB1 where the database is running. This is the destination DB2. If you notice something, the font of DB1 is white color and the font of DB2 blue, sky blue, whatever you want to call it. And based on the font color, you can identify whether I am performing the activity on the source server or on the destination server. This will make your life easier because you don't have to always look at the host name. So looking at the font color, you might guess, you may be able to understand where I am performing the activity. Now that we have seen how the servers have been defined, let's actually run one query. So ps -ef grep pmon, and here you can see we got aura 19D running. If I run exactly same query on the destination server, we are not getting any output. Our aim in this particular tutorial is by using the backup based duplication, RMAN backup based duplication, we will duplicate this aura 19D on destination twice, once with the same name aura 19D, once with a different name aura 22D. So there are some things that we need to do on the source. And what are the things that we need to do on the source? Creating the P file, taking the RMAN backup. Let's proceed. But before I do that, let me actually show you something. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to capture this information. So where is my log file? Where is my data file? Where is my temp file? Where is my control file? I'm going to use the $. Log file, $. Data file, $. temp file, and $. control file to get that information. And why I am querying this particular? Because in the first duplicate command, if you notice, in the second duplicate command we are changing, but in the first duplicate command, it will try to duplicate the database to exactly same location. Now, as I mentioned, in the second method, you can if you use the second method, you can redirect it. You have to create the directories accordingly. But in the first method, the duplicate will happen exactly at the same location as your source database. To allow us to know what are those directories, I'm running this particular queries. Now, before I run these queries on my database, I would like to also highlight that the way I have set up my database is that everything, the redo log, data file, temp file, and control file is under the same directory. In your case, you might have multiple directories based on how you have set up your databases. If you have different directory for redo log, different for data file, different for temp file, different for control file, you have to create those directories on your destination server. So let's begin. So let me set the environmental variable on the source server. So everything that we are doing right now is on the source server. So let me connect to the database as SQL plus SSDB and let me run that 4 queries which will give us the information about our database. And as you can see, our redo log, our data files, our temp file and our control file, everything is under the same directory. I need to know this particular directory because this directory I'll be creating on the destination server. So that's done. Let me clear exit. Now, first step that we will be doing is we will be creating the P file. So the 2 steps that we need to do, create P file and take the RMAN backup. So to create the P file, I'll be running the command create P file from SP file. Before I run that particular command, let me go to the Oracle Home DBS location. And as you can see, we got only 4 files. That is SP file, but there is no init parameter file. So let's connect to the database SQL plus SSDB. The environmental variable is already set, so I'm not going to waste your time. So let me say create P file from SP file. This particular command will be used to create your P file. Create P file from SP file. So let me take this particular command. File created. Let me exit from RMAN session. That's done. And let me go to that same location once again and do ls-lrt. And you can see we had 4 files. Now we got the 5th file, which is the init parameter file. So init parameter file, create P file from SP file. We got the init parameter file. This we will be transferring to the destination server. Now, the second part is taking the RMAN backups. So let me connect to the RMAN session. And before I take the RMAN backups, let me show you the show all parameter. And what I want to explain in that show all parameter is if you notice something here, configure control file auto backup on. So what this particular parameter says is that every time I take the backup, the full backup, level 1 backup, level 0 backup, archive log backup, any kind of backup that I take, every time I take the backup, automatically the control file will be backed up. This is the good practice. This is the standard practice. You should always turn this particular parameter on in your environment. Now, the another thing that I would like to highlight here is like if you notice I have configured the channel here. So what this channel indicates that every time I take the backup, automatically it will go to this directory in this particular format. Now, in your case, you don't have to do this. This is something that I have done for my simplicity that I don't have to allocate the channel when I'm taking the backup. So this particular setting, make sure that the backups goes to this location in this particular format. Again, this is not mandatory, something for my simplicity. Now that we have seen these particular settings, let me clear the screen once again. And let me run the list backup command. And as you can see, specification does not match any backup in the repository, which means that this particular database does not have the backup. The way I'll be taking the backup for this particular lab is first I will be taking the incremental level 0 backup followed by archive log backup. So let's take the incremental level 0 backup and let's initiate it. Based on the size of your database, the backup might take small or large amount of time. So give it a few seconds for the backup to complete. So this particular database is not that big. This particular database is just a blank database that I created. So backup should not take much time. And as you can see, the backup completed followed by the control file and SP file auto backup. That looks good. I also mentioned that I'll be taking the archive log backup. So let's run the archive log backup. And that got completed. Now, here I did mention that when we ran the list backup command, specification does not match any backup. Let's run the exactly same command and we can see that we have got the backups in our system. So we got whatever backup we took that, and along with that, we got some control file auto backup as well. So that's all good. So now that we have taken the backup, let's transfer the P file and backups to the destination server. So let's do that. So to do that, what we need to do, we need to create that particular directory on the destination server. So let's go to the destination server, ssh db2, that's destination server, and create that particular directory. And let's exit. That's done. So now what we'll do, we will transfer the backup files and P files. So before I transfer the backup file, let me explain this particular. Let me go to that directory where the backups are stored, and I'm going to get rid of this snapshot control file. It will confuse me. So now we got the 4 files exactly in this particular location. And this first two is the control file auto backup. This is the level 0 backup. This is the archive log backup. This control file backup is associated with this level 0 backup. This control file is associated with this archive log backup. So let me explain this again. So if I do ls minus lrt, you can see this is the level 0 backup, control file auto backup, level archive log backup, control file auto backup. So every time we take the backup, automatically the control file is also backed up because we have turned on the control file auto backup on. So that looks good. So now that we have taken the backup, let's transfer the backups to the destination server using scp star. So whatever is there here, star indicates that whatever is there here, we will transfer to the destination server. So that looks good. So the backups have been transferred. Now we need to also transfer the init parameter file. So let's go to the Oracle Home DBS location and transfer the init parameter file. So scp Oracle Home DBS init parameter file to destination db2. That looks good. So let's transfer that. That's done. Now everything that we wanted to do on the source database is done. But before I do that, before I say that, let me do something more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect to the database once again. And let me run one simple query, and I'll show you what is that query that I'm running and why am I running that. So let me connect as a sysdba, and I'm going to run a very simple query on this $v backup files, and I'm going to choose this backup set completion time. So the value that I'm choosing is $v backup. Value that I'm choosing is backup set completion time from $v backup files. And this particular value, this particular backup set completion time is the one which I'll be using in the until time clause. Remember, I told you that when we do the duplicate, we need to specify this until time clause. So I'll be using the value that we get from this particular $v backup file. So let me take this. And one of the things that I would like to also highlight, that I have set this endless date format in this, and whatever format that we specified here, exactly same format we need to mention in the until time. Otherwise, we have to rearrange our time in a way that matches to this particular format. So that looks good. So now let me take this query and run it on our database. And we got, let me actually little bit maximize this. And let me run this query once again. Now we got here, we got this particular control file backup is when we took the level 0 backup, and this control file is when we took the archive log backup. So that looks good. What I'll do, I will take this control file backup, this particular backup set completion time for this control file. I'll take this particular time. Let me put it in the, when we do the duplicate command until time clause, let me put it here. And what I'll do is, instead of taking exactly same time, we got 08. So we got 08. Let me add 2 seconds to that. So let me say 10. And that should be fine because we got the archive log. So I'm adding 2 seconds. And because we got the archive logs, it's going to read that archive logs and get that information. I'll do the same thing because we are going to do the duplicate twice. So let me do this one more time to the in the second duplication. That's good. And what I'll also do is, like, because I don't want to connect one more time, so what I'll do, I will also capture this. Okay, that I will do at the end because we need to compare too many things. Otherwise, yeah, we need to compare too many things. So let me run this all together at the end. So that's fine. So now that we have seen everything that we wanted to do on the source, so what we have done till now, we created P file, transferred it, we took the RMAN backup, transferred it, and we actually retrieved the backup set completion time from the $v backup files, which we used in the duplicate command. In the duplicate command, we used that particular value. At this moment, our work on the source server is done. We are good to log off. So let's disconnect from the source server. Everything that we do now will be on the destination server. So I don't have any reason to connect to the source. Everything that we will be doing is on the destination server. And as I mentioned, this particular lab is divided into 2 parts. First part is backup based duplication, where we will duplicate with the same name, Aura 19D. So let's begin. So to duplicate with the same name, first thing that we will do is we'll create an entry in etc Aura tab on the destination server. This makes my life easier because I don't have to set the Oracle Home, Oracle base manually. The Aura env will take care of that. So let's create this particular entry. And as I mentioned, Oracle Home is already installed in this, so I don't have to, the Oracle Home is already present. So that's done. Let's verify that entry. And you can see this is the Oracle SID, this is the Oracle Home, auto restart, no. So Oracle SID, Oracle Home, auto restart, no. That looks good. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the environmental variable, and that looks good. So now that the Oracle Home, Oracle Base has been set, let's verify whether we got the backup files. We transferred them from the source, but we never verified. So let's verify them. Yes, we got two control files and we got the level 0 and archive log files backup. So that looks good. Now we will verify that have we received the init parameter file. So let's go to the Oracle Home DBS, and you can see that under Oracle Home DBS we got the init parameter file. That looks good. Now at this moment we are good to start our instance in the no mount mode. But before we do that, let's create some directories. Now what are the directories that I'll be creating? I'll be creating exactly 3 directories on my system. One for the data file, one for the archive log dash, and one for the audit dash directory. So I'll be creating this directory. Now this particular data file directory, we already know how did I get it. I ran the query on $data file, $temp file, etc. So this particular directory, I got it from that one. But what about this archive log dash? How do I know which directory to create, audit dash? It's pretty simple. What you need to do is open your init parameter file, and you can see we have got this audit file dash parameter defined. So whatever value is defined for this particular parameter, create that particular location. We have the directory for the control file, and same directory, in my case it's the same directory that I'll be using for data file, temp file, etc. So create this particular directory. But in your case, your data files, Lido logs, control files, your first control file, your second control file might be in the different directory. So you have to create those multiple directories. Now in my case, I have set this log arc dash 1, so I have to create this particular directory. In your case, you might have set log arc dash 2, you might have set FRA. So based on how you have set up your database, you might have to create multiple directories. In my case, I have to create only 3 directories. That makes my life easier. So let's do that and create those 3 directories on the destination server. That's done. At this moment, if everything that we have done is good, then we should be able to start our instance in the no mount mode. So I'm under the Oracle Home DBS. This is the Oracle Home DBS location. This is the init parameter file, which I will use to start our instance in the no mount mode. So that looks good. And let's say SQL plus h6dba, and let's run startup no mount p file is equal to, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the location of p file slash the name of p file semicolon enter. And if everything that we have done till now is good, our instance should start in the no mount mode. Give it a few seconds for the instance to start in the no mount mode. As I mentioned, everything that we will be doing is on the destination server. Now that looks good. So the instance has been started. So now what I'll do, let me exit. And at this moment, we are ready to duplicate our database using the RMAN. So let's run RMAN auxiliary slash, and here we will be connected RR90D not mounted. Why we got connected in the not mounted? Because we started our instance in the no mount mode. So that looks good. So we said RMAN auxiliary slash connected to auxiliary database RR19 not mounted. That looks good. And we will be, let me show you this particular command once again. So let me show you this particular command. So the command that I'll be running is duplicate target database to the name of the database, location of your backup files. So backup location, no file name check, until time. And this until time, we got it from the $v backup files, the backup set completion time. And I added 2 seconds to that output. So let's take this and let's run this duplicate command. And this particular duplicate command is going to take some time, because this particular duplicate command is going to clone the database from the backup files. I will not waste your time. Let me pause this video, come back when we are about to finish. So the command is right now executing. Give it a few seconds. So as you can see, finish recover add, that looks good. So it's still not completed. It has to still clone the database in reset logs mode, open the instance, etc. So it's at the final step where we should be good, and it will say finish duplicate database. So and that database open, finish duplicate DB. So at this moment, let me exit. At this moment, our first, let me run this query ps minus ef. When we started, there was no instance running here. And now if I run this particular query, you can see that we got aura19d. Now I'm not going to connect to this particular database because this particular we will verify at the end. So if you wanted to interested in watching this section, you can skip to the end where we will verify this particular database. But while this particular database is running, so this is the end of part 1 where we completed the backup based duplication, and now we will move to the part 2 where we will do the backup based duplication with the different name. So that was with the same name, and now we will duplicate with the different name. So and I will perform this particular duplication while the first database is running on our destination server. I will not stop it. So this particular database we have duplicated successfully. Now we will start with the second part, and we will duplicate with name called aura22d while the first database is running, and verification of this particular database will be done at the end. So if you are not interested in the part 2, skip to the end, but if you are interested in part 2, hang on. So let's begin with the second part. So to duplicate with a different database name, let's follow exactly same procedure once again. So first thing that we will be doing is adding the entry in etc aura tab, and this time we will add the second entry for the database with a different name. So let's add aura22d, and that's done. Let's verify that that entry got created. So let's do tail -2 now, and we have two entries, the original database and the database with a different name. The Oracle SID, Oracle Home, auto restart. No, that looks good. Let's set the environmental variable, and that looks good. So now what we need to do is we will be copying the init parameter file. So let's go to the Oracle Home, which I'm already in, and here you can see under the Oracle Home DBS location we got. Let me get rid of this two files, otherwise it will confuse us. So let's get rid of this, and let's ls-lrt, and we got here the init parameter file for the first database. What we will do, we will copy this particular init parameter file as init aura22d. Let's done. Now what we will be doing is, like, under that init aura file, we will blindly change wherever this aura19d, we will change it to aura22d blindly. So we will modify. So at this moment I just copy that particular file. So that particular file exactly looks same as the original file. So what we will do, we will modify the second init parameter file, and wherever there is aura19d, we will change it to aura22d. So wherever there is aura19d, we'll change it to aura22d. So I'm changing. That looks good. Now what I'll also do, local listener, I'll change it to aura22d. And what I'll also do, as I mentioned, I will add exactly two parameters in our init parameter file. And what are those two parameters? The log file name convert and db file name convert. And why am I adding these two parameters? Because this particular parameter will make sure that if the log files are, sorry, I deleted both. So let me add it one more time. Yeah. So let me save this and let me show you. So now let me show you that particular file once again. So let me show you those two lines at the back, and then I will show you everything again. So this particular two parameter will make sure that if the redo logs are present in this directory, they will go to this directory. Now, if your redo logs are in multiple directories, then you have to comma separate this and add those multiple directories in the log file name convert. Similarly, for the db file name convert, if the database files are in this directory, they will get redirected to this particular directory. By adding these two parameters, what I'm making sure that we don't overwrite the data files of the original database that we have restored, aura19d, which is up and running, we don't overwrite those files. So by making sure, by adding this, if you don't wanted to use this particular method, you could have used the set new name clause also, it would have worked. So now that we have set this particular parameter, let's verify that whatever changes that we wanted to do in that. So let's take a look. This is the copy of original aura19d, and let's verify what is there with aura19d. Only those two log convert, that's good. And let's verify if all the parameters change to aura22d. Yes, everything got changed to aura22d. That looks good. Now let's create some directory. We are at the step where we can start our instance in the no mount mode, but before doing that, let's create some directories. So the directories that we need to create is one for the data files. In my case, everything, because we have used the db file name convert and everything was in aura19d, everything was under the Aura 19D, it will get redirected to Aura 22D because we set DB file name convert. Now, again, let me repeat, if your database files are in different directories, you might have to modify this particular parameter. And if you don't want to use this particular method, you can use the set new name clause. That is also fine. Now, this is the directory for your database files, but I will be also creating this another directory for archive log dash, and I will be creating this another directory for audit dash dump. So I'll be creating these three directories. Now, how do I know which directories to create? This one we know because this is the data file, etc., which we then initially query. But what about this archive log dash, audit dash dash? How do I know which directories to exactly create? Pretty simple. Open your init parameter file. You can see here there is a parameter called audit file dash define. So whatever parameter is defined, create that particular directory. For the control file, whatever parameter. So in my case, both the control file 1 and 2 are saved in the same directory. If they are in a different location, different directory, in your case, you might have to create those different directories. And also same directory is used for the data file, temp file, etc. And here I have defined the log arg-1, so I'll be creating this directory. Now in your case, you might have said FRA, log arg-2, etc., etc. So based on how we have defined your environment, you might have to create multiple parameters. So that looks good. So now that we know what directories to create, let's go ahead and create those three directories. Now that's done. So now we are at the step where we are ready to start our instance in the no mount mode. So let's set the environmental variable Aura22D. At this moment, I have mentioned this before, but when we do this duplicate, the original Aura 19D database is running. So Aura 19D is running, and when Aura 19D is running, we are going to duplicate to Aura 22D. I've already set the environmental variable, so that looks good. Let me actually do something like this. Let me give pwd once again, and let me do ls grep for 22D, and we got this particular file. So I'll be using this particular location and this particular file to start our instance in the no mount mode. So let's connect as SQL plus SSDB. I already set the environmental variable to Aura22D, so that should be fine. And let's say startup no mount p file is equal to, and instead of copying that command, let me form this command in front of you so you understand how to form it. So let's take this Oracle home DBS. Let's give the name of init parameter file, semicolon, enter. And if everything that we have done till now is good, then our instance should start in the no mount mode. Our instance should start in the no mount mode. That looks good. At this moment, we are good to run our RMAN duplicate command. And this RMAN duplicate command is exactly same as the previous. There are no changes except that we are using a different database name. Everything remains exactly same. There is absolutely no difference. Now, let's connect to the RMAN session. Let's clear. And here you can see auxiliary database Aura22D not mounted. So the database with a new name and not mounted. That is correct. And we are using auxiliary database. So that's good. And we will run this particular command. This particular command is going to take some time. I'm going to pause the video. But before I pause, let me show you duplicate database to new name, backup location to where you store your backups. Until time, this particular value, we got it from the $backup files. And what we did, we added 2 seconds to the backup of control file. So that looks good. Press enter. And if everything that we have done till now is good, then this particular database will be duplicated successfully. Now, I'm not going to waste your time watching this particular screen because this particular command takes some time. Let me pause the video, come back when this particular duplicate command is about to finish. So I'll pause and come back. As you can see, almost done, finished recover at Oracle instance restarted. So it's still not finished. It's still going to do few more steps, but we are almost at the end. So give it a few seconds for this particular command. Alter clone database open reset logs. That looks good. Database open finish duplicate DB. So at this moment, we have successfully completed the second part where we duplicated the database with a different name. Again, let me say, if you don't want to see the next part, you can hang up, you can disconnect the video. But if you want to still watch, we will complete the final step. And in the final step, we will verify everything is looking good. So let me connect to the source database, DB1 source server, and let me connect to the destination to end 2 different sessions. Now, in the first session, let me maximize this, let me maximize this, and let me maximize this. Now in the first session, this is the original source database. Let me set the aura anyway to the original database. That looks good. In the second session, I'll set it to the aura 19D, this database that we duplicated with the same name. And in the second session of the in the third session, or the second session of the second server, I'll set it to the different name. So that looks good. Now what I'll do, I will connect to all of these three databases one by one using SQL Plus as sysdbm. So let's do that. That looks good. That looks good. That looks good. So now what I'll do, I will run this very simple query. This is not a complicated query. All that it is doing is it's selecting the instance name, host name, name of the database, DB ID, status, open mode, $instance, $database. So it's nothing fancy. So let me take this and let me run this particular query on all the three databases. So let's done one. Let's do two. Let's do three. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to capture this output in a notepad so that we can compare it line by line. So take this, take this, and take this. And let me go to the final part of this. As I mentioned, the RMAN duplicate database command changes the DB ID automatically. So this is one of the things that the duplicate command does, which the backup and restore command does not do. If you use the traditional backup and restore, it would have not changed the DB ID. And the best thing about the duplicate command that it changes the DB ID automatically. So let's verify. So from Aura 19D, we were able to, so from DB1, Aura 19D, we duplicated with the same name on destination. So you can see we got Aura 19D running and we got Aura 22D also running. But this Aura 22D we duplicated. So from source DB1, we duplicated the database twice, once with the same name and once with a different name on DB2. So that looks good. But both of the times the duplicate command changed the DB ID. So whatever is the original DB ID, that does not have the even if the database name is same, the DB ID got changed, and here also it got changed. So the duplicate command changes the DB ID. And looking at this, you can see both the databases are in open read write mode. So that looks good. Now before I end, let me also run this particular query on all of the databases. So let's take this, let's take this, let's take this. So original database is in the DBD Aura 19D. So the redo log is under Aura 19D, data file Aura 19D. This is the source database on the DB1 Aura 19D control file. Now let's verify the first database, and you can see the database that we duplicated with the same name, everything is under the same directory. That looks good, which means that we have not overwritten anything. And for the database that we duplicated with a different name, the redo logs are in different directory, the data files are in different directory, the time files are in different directory, the control files are in different directory, which means that we have successfully duplicated our database to different directories, which means it looks like that we have not overwritten anything of the original database. And I'll show you the final thing. Let's take this. So this is the original database Aura 19D. This is the database that we duplicated with the same name, and this is the database that we duplicated with a different name. So that looks good. So now that we are at the end and we have seen everything, let me conclude this particular video with the final statement that in this particular tutorial, we learned how to perform the duplicate database to another server. We duplicated the database with the same DB name. We duplicated the database with a different DB name. We also learned how to redirect the files to different location while duplicating the database. And we also understood the concept of DB ID. I hope this particular tutorial was useful. Thank you for watching. And before I end this particular tutorial, let me request you that if you do like these particular videos that I'm uploading on my channel, if you do like the content that I'm uploading to my channel, do hit the like button, do hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching and see you in next tutorial. Till then, bye bye, enjoy and have fun.